Hey everybody, how's it going? Sadly, it's probably going better for a lot of you than it is for the family that I'm going to be reading about here. I know some people that have just taken up a strategy of simply not reading the news. Because if you're doing badly, you're going to be depressed. And if you're doing well, you kind of get depressed even either way because you feel bad for the fact that you're doing better than other people who are suffering. And like, a part of me really just kind of wonders if I'd be better off if I just stopped reading the news altogether. So this is a sad story that I got linked to. It says Bay Ridge residents rally behind beloved restaurant facing eviction. Bay Ridge is a neighborhood in the south part of Brooklyn. It's one of the last parts of Brooklyn you'll find these Italian enclaves. My grandma moved near here when she first came to America. Most of them migrated to Staten Island over the past 30, 35 years. This is a restaurant called Schnitzel Haus over here. It says the owners of Schnitzel Haus are hoping to raise $30,000 via GoFundMe to help pay months of accrued rent. The owners of a beloved German restaurant in Bay Ridge are asking for their community's help as they attempt to stave off eviction and pay thousands of dollars in back rent racked up during the coronavirus pandemic. We have spent the past few months attempting to negotiate with our landlord, but we have been unable to negotiate anything positive. Color me surprised! A New York City landlord that doesn't want to negotiate. Urban and his wife, Amber, launched the online fundraiser on July 22nd after months of back and forth with the establishment's landlord and the unexpected loss of their 26-year-old son in April. The business is all we have. We wiped out our bank account already. I wiped out my 401k to try to keep the doors open, said Urban, who set a goal of $30,000. If we were able to get the $30,000 we are going for, we would be able to hand the landlord all the arrears at one time. Since then, do-gooders have poured close to $10,000 into the campaign as of August 6th, many of the donations accompanied by well wishes to the Urban family who have given back to their community on countless occasions. Please help support a local family business who have been tirelessly there for many people in our community when in need, wrote Bay Ridge resident Thomas Bada. Freddie and Amber are one of our neighborhood's warmest and generous hearts in community service, and it's our turn to support and give back to them. At the height of the coronavirus pandemic in March, the Urban family was recognized as the New York Post as heroes of the day for their efforts to feed the elderly and the homeless. Something, Urban said, felt like instinct. I had been doing it for years, so when COVID hit, I felt bad and thought, let's bring them some food, Urban told Brooklyn Paper. But shortly after, tragedy struck the Urbans when their son, Richie, died unexpectedly from a seizure. It is unfortunate. You can always say my life is going well, and then in one fell swoop, Urban said, Richie was there for day one, from the day that we opened. When he turned 21, the first drink we ever had was in the restaurant. We did little mini projects, painting this and fixing this, everything we did together. And you see a picture of the family. After such an insurmountable loss, Urban is hopeful he will be able to save his family business. One, he said, meant so much to his son with the help of his community. This is not just a business that we open that we could care less if they close, Urban said. It is everything to me and my family. And then you see the fundraiser that they had opened over here. And it says, update, our landlord will be taking back half of the restaurant to start, even though they raised $22,000 of their $30,000 goal in the middle of coronavirus while the pandemic is still raging. While you're not allowed to open your restaurant all the way, the landlord, A, is not negotiating, and B, is taking back half of the restaurant. Many things go through my head here, and it's difficult to really focus on which one to discuss first. The first thing that I feel is worth discussing is I really do want to be a fly on the wall for that negotiation. Hey, sir, it looks like we're not allowed to open our restaurant because of the law. Fuck you, pay me. Hey, sir, I'm very sorry, but my son just recently died, and I'm not allowed to open my restaurant because the law says I can't. Fuck you, pay me. I wonder what it would be like if there was an audience for that conversation, and I wonder how people would react if they were in the room listening to these conversations. It's just, it genuinely fills me with rage to listen to this, and you have to understand, people will often say that I'm not a real New Yorker because I will hope that the real estate crash comes, and one of the reasons that I hope it comes is because I want to see those landlords lose their shirts. There's a part of me that would smile watching that happen. I don't understand. Do you expect another restaurant to move in tomorrow? Do you think that someone else is going to move in and immediately just open when you're not legally allowed to open your restaurant? Like, it genuinely blows my mind. I don't even know if they're really fully aware of how the law works. It says, yeah, when our protection from the state is lifted on August 20th. And I'm not sure if they're fully aware of how this works, but they would have to go to court in order to get a marshal to kick them out. I don't know if they fully have the experience with that. You know, in Virginia, you're 2 days late on your rent, the owner can change the locks. In New York City, that's not quite the case. They would have to take you to court. They would have to get a marshal to change the locks, and that process is not something that's happening expediently, even without coronavirus. So if they are doing their best to pay and then they wait and they go to court, it's not like, oh, I have to hand this batch of money immediately or they change the locks. That would indeed be illegal, and I hope that they have spoken to someone in the city regarding what their rights would be prior to assuming that they have zero negotiating power. The next thing that does make me a little sad, and perhaps this is improper to discuss, is when it says, we have already wiped out what's left of my 401k, our bank accounts, and the kids. But as a family, we all agreed to try to keep our doors open in memory of... And one of the things that makes me sad here is... I've had a business fail before, and it is genuinely gut-wrenching. It's like, there are people that have said, well, you can just start another business if this business fails. I've heard that a lot in the beginning of when coronavirus started, and I don't think people understand it really does feel like you're losing an arm when you lose a business. I had a business that failed several years ago. It was Rossman Supply Group. I talk about why it failed here, how it was I ran my business improperly, what I could have done differently, and why I earned and deserved that business failure. But it is very tempting to try and stave it off by investing your own personal money back into the business to try and save it. And if your business is not profitable, if your business does not have the capability to be profitable, it is very difficult to get out of the emotional mindset of, oh my God, I don't want to lose my arm. I don't want to cut off my arm. I love my arm. I'm used to having my arm. I don't want to lose it. To invest into something that has no capability of making money, no capability of recovering if you do put that money in. Or like, let's say, this is already fucked. You're here. If you put in money, you'll be here, but you're already above the fuck line. It's very difficult to not invest into something that's failing, and it's very difficult to have that discipline to not do that if it is already failing and you are already screwed. Because as you can see here, he's put his full 401k into there. He's put his full bank account into there. He's GoFunded me $22,000, and the landlord is still taking back half of the restaurant, likely because Mr. Urban does not understand his full tenant's rights. And if he would like to speak to my attorney, I'd be more than happy to fund him 1 or 2 hours with the real estate attorney that I hired to do my leases, who, let's say, might give him a different idea of what his particular of his rights are here, and I hope he reaches out to me on this. But and this is something that my martial arts instructor has gone over. To be clear, I suck at anything remotely athletic. I was the last kid to get picked for kickball, baseball, dodgeball, or anything as a kid. Once it was finally time to pick me, neither team would pick, so the gym teacher would actually have to force me onto a team, at which point you would hear everybody grunt and groan because I suck. I got decent at weightlifting in high school. I suck at sports, but my martial arts instructor, there's this one drill, it's Chisao drill, and once I go to hit an open palm, he does a jut block and pulls me in. But what I need to do is I need to say straight body and not let my shoulder get stuck in, not lose my square body fit and keep my structure. I need to do this, and like when I hit, once he blocks, I need to allow him to take my arm, but not give him my shoulder, my head, my everything else, because once I do that, I lose all control whatsoever. And trying to follow him, then I wind up getting sucked into his trap, and then I lose my balance, and I get my ass kicked. And it's only very recently that I've, in some occasions, not been able to not fall into this trap, because we've been practicing a lot with this drill, and I've been practicing a lot at home as well. And it's very similar in business. You don't want to lose your structure. You don't want to lose your balance. And like when someone goes to block, you just want to, you don't want to get sucked forward. And this is the trap that you can fall into as a business owner, where your business is not profitable. Rather than figuring out how to negotiate your way out of it, you invest your personal money into it, then you invest your 401k into it, then you invest your kid's college fund into it, and then you genuinely have nothing left to start over. Because if you think losing a business is bad, which it is, and trust me, I've been through that mourning process. I've sat in this chair or a chair like it until 4 a.m., damn near wanting to cry out of self-pity before I picked myself up and fixed it. I know what it feels like. Imagine what it feels like when you can't start over later with a second one because you poured everything into the first one that was failing without fixing the sinkhole. If you haven't fixed the sinkhole, then you can't invest your personal money into it. And I don't think you have fixed the sinkhole if you've been unable to negotiate with your you've been unable to figure something out with the landlord, and you're not able to open by the city. And it honestly, this thing just makes me sad. And again, just reading this, like, it really does make me wonder. I want to be a fly on the wall for that conversation, and I really do wonder what it was like. Again, you read this, it says, we've spent the last few months attempting to negotiate with our landlord, but we've been unable to negotiate anything positive. This is a restaurant. Restaurants were not legally allowed to have customers come into their restaurant. So, and the guy's son passed away. I mean, can you imagine someone coming by, like, yeah, I know you're not legally allowed to open your business along with hundreds of thousands of millions of other people in the city, and I know your kid just died, but fuck you, pay me. I don't. I get it. The economy has to move on. I get it. It's, property rights. The economy must march on. But I mean, there is some sense of free will there. You have the choice as to whether or not to be a scumbag in these situations. And like, god damn, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This personally makes me sick. Apparently, they actually have vegetarian food as well. And I'm genuinely curious if they have actually spoken to someone about how this process actually works. Because again, I could be wrong here. I haven't spoken to them personally. But from the language that I am reading in the GoFundMe, I think that unless there's something that I don't know, that information I don't have access to, I do believe they may not fully understand the way the law works in New York City. They may not fully understand all of their rights. And I do hope that they that they become educated on this before they sink more into the sinkhole rather than realize how this actually works. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if you're honestly, if there's a little twinkle in your eye when you see the idea of the real estate crash happening in New York City, because a part of you, even without being a fly on the wall for these conversations, is kind of happy to see it come crashing down. Again, I don't want to see these businesses come crashing down. I really don't. At the same time, when you see how they're treated, I want to see the people that treat them this way just kind of, well, I'm just repeating myself at this point. I'll see you all in the next video.